Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and today there is something special that we are going to be doing. So, since the beginning, people have always made their own personalized teams of Power Rangers, going into different motifs and themes for their theoretical seasons. In fact, there are so many of them, you can literally go on YouTube and look up Power Ranger fan films, and you'll get at least a dozen different ideas. And some creators have actually made their own versions of Power Ranger seasons based on theme songs. And today, I'm going to take a couple of those and make a team of Rangers for those seasons. Now, first, I do want to give a quick shout out to the creators themselves, as I will be taking their own songs that they've made and using those to create the teams. So, I'd like to give a quick shout out to Infinitor, Torrent Dark Gray, and Mighty Power. These guys were actually the ones who created the theme songs for each of these teams of Rangers that I will be drawing today. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, the first idea that comes up today is going to be one that's based on The Legend of Zelda and called Power Rangers Triforce. Now, I will admit, I'm not really well versed in the Legend of Zelda lore or the games itself, but I do know a bit about the characters and a little bit of the story, but not much. I'm sorry, guys. So, when I first came across this song and was having ideas about it, I was thinking Red Ranger would be Zelda, a Green Ranger would be Link, and a Black Ranger would be Ganon. However, when I was looking more deeply at the description in the video itself, thanks to Torrent Dark Ray, thank you very much for that, he says in this description that it's going to be a futuristic version with reincarnations of the three goddesses, Diana, Freya, and Naomi. I don't really know who they are, and so this is actually a really cool idea because it would be the first time there would be an all-female cast for the core team. And each of them would have the different Triforce powers: wisdom, courage, and power. I'm personally thinking red would get power, blue would get wisdom, and green would get courage. But that's just my idea. If you guys think there's a better combination based on the games and with the goddesses, let me know, because I am just like completely lost on who the goddesses are. So their main powers would be fire, water, and earth, which makes sense for that because they are different styles of areas that can be in the games, I believe. Again, have not played Zelda in the slightest and only know the basic lore of the show, but a bit more about the characters. So, once again, I do apologize for that for anybody out there. But yeah, I'm not really a gamer. And then later on, they will be joined by three other Rangers who wield the powers of light, darkness, and later on, they'll come across an Ether Ranger, which, according to the description on here, it says that they will be Hylia, Ganon, and Fierce Deity. Which, honestly, I'm going to change that part. And instead, it's going to be the Light Ranger will be Zelda, the Darkness Ranger will be Ganon, and Ether will be, have it as Link. And it would be a pretty interesting dynamic there, as it would be the three goddesses, or at least reincarnated versions of the three goddesses, and the three heroes of time. There would be definitely something of a sort of rivalry between Ganon and all the other Rangers, basically kind of hinting at the storyline of Ganon and his overall journey. However, that is not going to be the full case here. It'll be that they're all reincarnations, but they all have different life journey in this series. And then there is also something else that was very important in this song that I actually really wanted to incorporate. And that is that there is a seventh Ranger in this series. And it's Link. But there is something very important about this. According to the description, his idea is that Link is going to be the villain, and it's specifically going to be Link from the end of time, which I'm not really sure what that means. If anybody has any idea what that is, please let me know in the comments below. I am completely lost on that one. I'm assuming it's like some kind of evil version of Link, or maybe it's supposed to be a reference to Dark Link or something. But please let me know in the comments. I really do want to understand what that means. So my idea for this is going to be a little bit similar to with Zenaku in Power Rangers Wild Force, where there's only going to be a single day where the evil spell that makes Link the villain will be reversed. So for this kind of story, yes, there will be two different versions of Link, and it is going to be a bit of a Teen Link for the Ether Ranger, and will be a bit of a reference to how he has light version and a dark version, and the villain would be adult Link, or at least a more adult Link than we would have seen in the past through the games. I have watched a little bit of like some cutscenes and playthroughs for Ocarina of Time, and I do know a bit of the story about that. I did some slight research for this, but I have not played it at all, so I have no idea what the heck is going on in half of it. But it will be that I'll say every 15 episodes, we'll just call him Old Link. Old Link will be freed from a curse that was placed upon him thousands of years ago. And his weapon, the Master Sword, has been lost ever since then. And so he tries his best to be one of the team members, but it's not really something that is easy for him, especially since it's only one day. Let's say for this kind of thing, it'd be one day every 3 months kind of thing. And he'll be the villain for most of it. So he won't really know how to approach the others to help them out. However, I would say during the final arc of the show, there will be a lesson that the Rangers learn from the Seven Sages. I think that's what they were called. And the lesson will be that in the past, there were only 3 Rangers, which were Wisdom, Courage, and Power. And they have always been the reincarnated versions of Link, Zelda, and Ganon. However, in the last reincarnated war, we'll call it that for now, Link went into the villain's lair on his own, and something happened. How the story will be explained is that he fought the villain and defeated him, but in doing so, he unleashed a powerful curse onto himself that made him become the next reincarnated king of evil. Which, I know that's Ganondorf's title, and Ganondorf is Ganon, so it's going to be a little confusing for people who may have played the games, but it's about the best I can come up with off the top of my head. Yeah, if anybody has a better idea, or if there is another villain that Link fought against that would probably be a better opponent for like the overarching villain, let me know in the comments below. And this overarching villain would be revealed as essentially the one pulling the strings the entire time in this final arc. And it'll be with the Sage's powers that they're able to reverse the spell over Old Link and free him from the curse altogether. However, it comes at the cost of the Sages, because doing this uses up all their power, and so they disappear off the face of the earth and are not seen again for the rest of the season. So essentially, it'd be the Rangers will have to learn how to do their job without help. As In this series, the Sages would be the Zordon equivalent, as they would help give the team pep talks and motivation to do their job. And during the final, I think it'll be the final 5 episodes, old Link will join up with the Rangers and rediscover his old self again, and become the 7th member of the team. And he will become a new Ranger. Though not with the same powers he had before, but instead he will become an Orange Ranger. Now, I know for this drawing I didn't do anything spectacular like drawing the Zords for it, but the biggest thing about it is because I really wanted to focus more on the Rangers themselves, because this was essentially a lot harder for me to go through, as there were a lot of different elements that I wanted to incorporate from my knowledge of Legend of Zelda and knowledge that I had to research quite a bit. And so I didn't really have much to go for with the Zords and everything, but biggest thing is I don't really know what the Zords would really look like for this. But you guys let me know what you think the Zords could be like in the comments below. I also have to say, when I was first coming up with this idea, my mind went to that there would be 3 major villains for this. And it was going to be like dark reflections of Zelda, Ganon, and Link. But as I kept going with that idea, I realized it was going to get a little too confusing, especially with some of the darker versions, and as I was coming up with who would be the Rangers, it got more and more confusing on how that was going to work. So I decided to scrap that idea and just make Evil Link the main villain for a majority of the season. And their morph call would go something like this. It's morphin' time! And as an intro to this, I once again want to thank Torrent Dark Gray for making the music for this. And here's what my idea of what the intro song would be like.
Master Sword was lost long ago, as lore tells of the lost ranger, the 7th guardian campaigner. Heed the call of ancient heroes, their swords will clash and arrows fly. In the shadow of evil's eye. They got powers from ancient parallel worlds. They got morphing abilities to end wars. So no one can never ever take them down, because the power lies inside. Go, Triforce Rangers! Ancient seal breaks through gates of time, unleashing unseen evil foes. All celestial powers are prime as the goddesses choose heroes. Now guardians of the Triforce. Go, Power Rangers Triforce. Triforce, the mighty more phenomenal. Triforce, sacred guardians of Hyrule. Power Rangers Triforce. Wisdom, courage, power, and more. Power Rangers Triforce. Triforce.
So the next idea that I have is actually one of the most interesting that I've ever come across. It's called Power Rangers Fusion Drive, and I'm in love with this idea. I want to give a special thank you to Mighty Power for making this idea, and I kid you not, the music for it is so amazing. I am in love with it. It is one of my favorite songs for a fan series that I've ever come across. So the description on the video itself is that 5 Rangers join together to defeat the forces of evil predators from outer space, combining their powers with past Ranger powers to gain armor and power-ups that were never before seen. In his mind, it's essentially Kamen Rider Zeo, but for Power Rangers instead. And yeah, this would be a really interesting idea. We've seen it done for a bunch of different Kamen Riders, and the ability to use past Ranger powers has been an idea that's been in Super Sentai and Power Rangers through Gokaiger Super Mega Force, but I wanted to take it a little bit further as well because I recently have watched a couple episodes of Ultraman Orb, and there it's a really cool idea because he can use past Ultraman powers and combine them into one form. And that's kind of what I'm doing for this team as well. For their base forms, it's going to be that they have two different Power Ranger forms that are combined into one to make this form. And they can call on different Rangers of their respective color and combine that into their base form, basically by swapping out one of the two Rangers. So I'll say, for example, for the Red Ranger, I have it be a combination of Wild Force Red and Turbo Red. But if he, say, wanted to use the Ninja Steel powers, he'd swap out. For this scenario, let's say he swaps out the Wild Force Red powers and brings in the Ninja Steel Red powers. And that way, he has both the powers of the ninjutsu powers along with whatever powers were available for the Turbo Rangers. Yeah, there was not really any extra powers that they got. But it's ideas like that that really got me thinking about this kind of idea because with a fusion ranger, you could literally swap out any powers for any new powers to gain more abilities. And that's really one of the more interesting things that I like about this. The only difference between this and other Ranger teams is that this team will feature a purple Ranger instead of a traditional green or black Ranger. And that's something that I really wanted to go for because we hadn't really seen purple very much, and also I really wanted to put in a wolf design for it, and there wasn't really any way to do that without making it a purple ranger, or at least a lighter color ranger other than black. Because I knew from the start I wanted to have it be a darker color ranger. Essentially, I wanted it to be like a black ranger, but as I was going through it, I was like, well, I want to show like the wolf kind of ears. I can't really do that with a black ranger. And so I decided to just go for a purple ranger. Because that's close enough. And it would be very interesting to see this kind of team come together. Now, I haven't really thought about much of with what the story would be or anything, but essentially, taken in with what's in the description, there's a group of animal-like aliens that are coming down to Earth. And essentially, they'd be fusions of two or three different types of animals, mostly predator-like animals. So lions, tigers, bears, oh my, wolves, and like just generic like apex predator kind of beasts. So it'd be a bit of a kind of evolutionary process kind of thing. Like, you know how there's ligers out there, basically a combination of tiger and a lion. And so this series of villains would be a bit of a representation of that kind of thing. It'd be combining two different animals into one much more dangerous animal. And for the Rangers themselves, they'd basically be like all over the world kind of thing. Like there'd be a prodigy child who is a teenager yet in college. There's an adventurer. There's a martial arts master, possibly thinking it's either going to be red or purple. There's a inventor, literally a mechanic inventor, and I honestly don't really know who I would want the fifth ranger to be, but throw out ideas in the comments, guys. I really do love seeing how you guys would make this story work. And they basically fight with the villains as such kind of thing. Although later on, I would have a sixth ranger show up, and instead of being a combination of two rangers, he'll be a combination of three rangers. Instead of being Fusion Drive Silver Ranger or Fusion Drive White Ranger, which the other rangers will have, because there'd be Fusion Drive Red, Fusion Drive Blue, and so on and so forth. Instead, the sixth ranger will be Fusion Drive Shining Ranger. Even though it's pretty much going to be primarily silver and gold, he'll be titled as Shining Ranger because that's essentially what he's going to do in the battlefield. Shine like the sun. It's going to be a similar thing they did in other Power Ranger seasons like the Titanium Ranger, the Solaris Knight, the Mercury Ranger, the Wolf Ranger, where it's clearly a color that's being like the basis for it, but they have a different title to make them stand out and feel a little bit different than the rest of the team. And that's an idea that is going to be present in this. The Core 5 is going to be essentially the main Fusion Drive Rangers, and they're going to basically do the traditional Power Ranger stuff, but the 6th Ranger here is going to be on a bit of a different mission. I don't have much idea of what he's going to do, but in my head right now, I'm having the idea that he's going to be an alien. Probably either like a KO-35 or Miranoi, or heck, even if we really wanted to go full-on alien in this, we could have it be that he's a Syrian like Doggy Kruger, or even if we really wanted to, we could just throw all those out the window and come up with a brand new alien species for him. Or I guess if we really wanted to, we could even make him an Eltarian as well. Heck, if we even wanted to, we could even make him a Daxamite and just connect it with Common Rider, or in that case, Masked Rider. It would be a very interesting idea to really dig into and flesh out. And while I can't really do that much today, since I'm mostly ad-libbing all this, it's a very interesting idea, and I'd love to know what you guys think of this idea in the comments section below. Now, I know I haven't done any of the Zords or the Megazord or anything, but honestly, with this team, it's going to be really hard for me to try to figure that kind of thing out, because it's a fusion of 2 to 3 different Rangers, so I'm not really going to be able to do much in the way of creating a brand new series of Zords and Megazords, because there's going to be a bit too many hoops to try to jump through, and I'm just not up for that right now. Honestly, I really wanted to put these out to work on the suit designs mostly, and maybe show off a little bit of a quick glimpse of what the villains would look like. So, yeah, this was literally just me putting this together for the sake of combining 2 different Ranger suits together. And if you guys want me to go more in-depth about this, I could definitely do a couple more Power Ranger fusion forms. And you guys let me know which ones you want me to make a fusion of in the future, because I'm definitely looking forward to that kind of thing. And their morph call would go something like this. It's morphin' time! Fuse! Fuse! Ha! And if you guys want to know what the intro to this would sound like, Mighty Power has actually put that on his own YouTube channel, so go give that a listen when you can. Believe me, guys, it's really a lot of fun, and it has been so much fun listening to that song to get into the mind space to make this artwork and come up with this idea. I kid you not, it is so amazing. Go check it out. So the last one I wanted to talk about today is actually the one that I have the most of a connection with. Thanks to Infinitor, we have some music for Power Rangers Medieval Fury. And the funny thing is, during high school, I would make comic books making my own Power Ranger teams and seasons. And the idea of having a series of medieval knights for a Power Ranger team was actually one of the ideas that I came up with. Though back then I called it Power Rangers Night Force. In the original story, the Rangers were the king, the queen, a royal lady, a scribe, and one of the knights. And there was a sixth ranger who was a bit of a thief at the start. For this new idea, though, I'm going to change it up and have all the guys be actual knights that serve under King Arthur, and the girls are going to be something of, well, essentially, I'm still going to have them be elite class women. And that would explain with why they have training in this regard. So yeah, it's essentially going to take place in King Arthur times, and he's essentially going to be the Zordon equivalent in this series, as he'll be the one to send them out on missions and give them advice and put in the father-like figure and mentor role that the Rangers need to complete their missions. I also have the idea that we're going to also see Merlin in this series as well, and he'll be actually the one to create the powers and even create a lot of their weapons, which will mostly be swords and shields, but every once in a while we'll see them use things like bows and arrows, axes, maces, and just general like knight attire and weapons for their battles. And pretty much instead of using motorcycles or bikes or that kind of stuff for travel, they will pretty much be using exclusively horses to get around. Though part of me also feels like I might turn that into a sort of mechanicalized horses, just to have it be a bit more Power Ranger esque to it. Or at the very least, have it be horses that have a lot of like armor on them to make them look a little more mechanicalized. And even though I kind of put a different motif for each ranger, I want to go into what the motifs are, because pretty much the primary way that their helmets and outfits will look, it'll be different styles of knight garb. So for this one, I looked up a lot of different armor platings and more specifically different styles of helmets, and that's what really inspired a lot of it for the design of the helmets and the visors. And this was something that was much more apparent in my original concept, as I put a lot more effort into that than anything else in this show. So it was actually pretty fun to go back to this and remake that, so to speak, and put a little bit of a different spin on it. And I know that I didn't exactly put any effort into showing what each, like, I'll say, animal or what the actual motif for them will be in the suit designs themselves, but essentially it would just be more generic kind of knight material that is going to be for the look of the Rangers. But as their time together goes on and there's more of a connection between them and they get more power, that's when the more obvious connections to their animals will come about. So red will be dragon, blue will be a unicorn, black will be a griffin, silver will be a mermaid, and yellow will be a wolf. And in the original story that I had for this show, it was pretty much a combination of Power Rangers, a medieval style set of team of Rangers, and the Lego Knights Kingdom from the early 2000s, which that one was actually one of my favorite series of books when I was growing up. And so essentially it would be King Jaco as, or former King Jaco as the Zordon equivalent, and the Guardian of the Heart of the Shield as an ally who helps to grant the powers. So essentially I did swap them out for King Arthur and Merlin, but it's just kind of funny that I literally was ripping off so many other ideas for my original series. And the villain, that one is changed a little bit as well. Because in the original, it was basically the son of Vladik from the Knight's Kingdom books, and I literally called him Vladikith. I legit do not remember why. And so now it's going to be a different kind of character. It's going to essentially be the same kind of story that Vladik had in the Knight's Kingdom books, where he's trying to overthrow the empire or the kingdom and rule the land himself. And what I actually would do that would be pretty interesting, in my opinion, would be that there would be a bit of a fake out in who the main character is for this series. So essentially, for let's just say for the first half of the season, when it's just the core five Rangers, we get the sense that it's going to be the Red Ranger's story. It'll be pretty well set up. He'll be one of the best knights in the kingdom, but he's still very self conscious about what he does, and he's not going to be completely confident in everything he does. And so it'll be through the teamwork and everything that he'll learn how to become more confident in himself and trusting others, and eventually to become a great knight and potentially even King Arthur's successor. However, when the Sixth Ranger shows up, it will switch to him being the main character. And that's something that I actually had the idea for from the very beginning as well. We've seen a lot of times where the Red Ranger has been the main character, and every now and then we get other Ranger colors to be the main character as well, but usually it's the season-long thing. So, one example being Trent. He's technically a Sixth Ranger, but we've been with him since the beginning, so his story goes a very long way for that. But when he starts in the season, the Sixth Ranger is a thief, full on. And I'll have it that in his first episode, he steals wouldn't really know how to describe it, but a bit like a half sword. Like, instead of like a 3-foot tall blade, it'll be a 1-foot tall blade. But it wouldn't exactly be a dagger either. And the big thing is, it'll be that when he's stopped by the guards, the sword, for some reason, will take over his body and essentially do the fighting for him. And this is kind of with what goes on in the Black Cauldron with the sword that, what's his name? Terran steals and uses for himself. The sword does all the fighting, he just holds it, kind of thing. And it'll be when he's brought before Merlin and King Arthur that they see he is a chosen ranger. And so he'll join the team as the Sixth Ranger, and the story shifts to be about him. As the Gold Ranger, or the Gold Knight Ranger, he will be the warrior of light that combats the darkness that is brought on by the villains. And it'll be a bit of an interesting way to make that happen, because essentially it'd be light versus dark, and it'd be a more literal way of showing it, kind of thing. And the fun thing that I have an idea for is that he will get a battleizer. It would be the first time that a Sixth Ranger exclusive battleizer can come out. We've technically had that with Eric, but I mean, he was a Red Ranger, and Red Rangers always get the battleizers, so his kinda doesn't really count. Also, with Orion, that one wasn't really a battleizer either. It was an enhancement mode from the Sentai footage. Yeah, I don't really count that one. Now, I haven't mapped out everything about the series itself, but essentially at the end of it all, it'll be that the Gold Knight Ranger basically gives the finishing blow to the villain, and undoes all the evil that he's done in the past. And there would be a certain ceremony at the end to celebrate the Rangers and their victory. And it would essentially be that the Red Ranger is crowned as the successor and current bodyguard to King Arthur, being at his side for the entire time. And the Gold Ranger will actually be named as a knight himself. And honestly, that would be something for his character that has been something that he has debated in the past, but never really wanted to begin with, because essentially, from everyone else's perspective, he starts as a nobody. He's a thief, he's a criminal. And so it would be something of a sort of overarching story for him, as it would definitely help to show not every person who does bad things is a bad person. A lot of people who do that kind of thing have a good heart. Essentially, don't judge a book by its cover. And their morph call would go something like this. It's morphin' time! Night mode! Armor up! It's morphin' time! Night mode! Armor up! But for an intro song, I've actually put one together. And thank you, Infinitor, for making this song for me to get inspired by. And here we go with the intro version.
In the days of yore they rise, with honor in their eyes. Enemies will tremble with fear as our knights take a stand. For the Power Rangers fight to save the kingdom and the land. Go, go, Power Rangers! The evil fury burning bright. Power Rangers in the fight. Mystic scrolls of power untold, a legacy brave and bold. Power Rangers, man, evil fury, moonlit quests and daring duels. Under stars so grand, medieval Power Rangers strive, defending all the land. Go, go, Power Rangers! Medieval fury.
Pretty cool ideas, huh? I really did have a lot of fun making this video because there were several points where I had to go into more lore-based items to get a better understanding of everything. And that's not something I've usually done. I've usually just stuck to things that I already know about. And if you guys have ideas of your own, let me know what they are in the comments section. Let me know what you'd have the theme be, what you'd have the title be, what Rangers there would be, and maybe even a short synopsis, because I really want to do a part 2 for this. It was so much fun, and I want to know what your guys' ideas for a fan season are. So in the meantime, give this video a like if you want to see more videos like it. Leave a comment. Let me know what video I should make a speed paint video on next. Subscribe if you haven't, and ring that bell for notifications. Also, check out my Discord server. It's a great place to just talk with me and other people about the videos that I put out. And it's where I'll be putting up updates every once in a while, and even putting up some additional footage and questions and all that stuff. Also, follow me on Twitter as well at prnerd_official, and check out my TikTok as well. I don't post there too often, but I have been for certain items. Also, follow me on Instagram at PowerRangers_nerd. I put up the artworks for all of my speed paint videos on there for you guys to check out. Also, check out my Patreon as well. I'm still kind of in the process of making it, but it is a great way for you guys to support me and keep the lights on here. And also, by becoming a member on Patreon, you'll be able to get early access to my videos as well. And you could even get some shoutouts on my YouTube channel as well. So, I'd suggest giving that a look too. May the power protect you all, and I'll see you guys next time. Night mode! Go!